Alright then, so hopefully now you have a rough idea as to what these files and folders are all for. Next, I want to show you how to preview this site in a browser and also dive a bit deeper into the app component. So in the package.json file, we saw the scripts that we have access to. These are scripts that we can run in the terminal, and each one does a different thing. The one that we're going to focus on for now is the start script. What this does is spin up a local development server on a certain port number, and it serves up our index.html file or page so we can preview it in a browser. So let's run this in the terminal. Now you can open up whatever terminal you want and navigate to this project directory to run this script, but VS Code also has an integrated terminal that we can use to do this as well. So that's what I'll be using. So to open this, we can go to the terminal at the top and then select new terminal. And then down here, it opens up, and notice that we're automatically in the project directory. So all we need to do now is say npm run start and then hit enter. And then when we do that, it's going to spin up a local development server on port 3000. And that should also open up in a browser. So this right here is our React application in its current state. And all of this content on the page is being driven by the app component in our project, because React DOM took that component and it rendered it to the root element in our page. Now, if we open up the DevTools and go to the Explorer tab, we should be able to see that all of this content is inside that div with an ID of root, where the component was rendered by React. So now let's take a look at the app component that's being rendered inside the app.js file. So remember, a component is just a function, right? And that's what this thing is right here. Now, if a component has a template, we return that template, which is the case right here. It's returning a JSX template. And all of this content inside the template is what we're seeing in the browser, because this app component is being rendered to the browser. And by the way, we have these imports at the top of the file right here for the CSS and the logo. We'll talk about those later. But also, for older versions of React, you have to import React up here as well. And that looks something like this. We'd say import, then React, and that would be from, and then in quotes, React. So if you're using an older version of React, you'll need to add this in, but from version 17 onwards, you don't need to import React at the top like this anymore. So I can delete this. Okay, so notice as well that at the bottom of the file, we export the app component. This is important. We always export our components so that they can be imported and used in other files. For example, this component is imported into the index.js file, where we pass it into the render method as a tag. So when we import a component, we can use that component just like a regular HTML tag like this. And we're going to see a lot more of that later in the course. Anyway, if we go back to the app component and change something inside it, like the text below the anchor tag to something like learn React and Firebase, if we then save this file, that change should be automatically reflected in the browser. And yeah, we can see that change. Cool. Now, one more thing I want to show you is that if you open up your DevTools by hitting F12 and go to the Explorer tab to see all of the elements, then scroll right to the bottom of the HTML, you'll come across a couple of JavaScript files being brought in. And these are the files that contain our compiled React components. You won't find them in the project directory in your text editor because they're being served essentially from memory. And every time we make a change to our React components, our course code will be compiled behind the scenes, and these JavaScript files right here will be updated to reflect those changes. That's something you don't have to worry about too much for now. I just wanted to remind you that all of our source code is compiled before it reaches the browser, because browsers don't understand React components and JSX as they are. They need to be compiled into JavaScript code the browser does understand. Anyway, that's the app up and running. Next, I want to talk a little bit about using images and styles in our project.